The Jeff Meacham Network's Multiverse of Media. For over 15 years, the recognized symbol of excellence and the standard bearer in coverage of sports and entertainment. The following views are strictly the views of James Hebert and do not represent anybody that works with the Jeff Meacham Network Multiverse of Media or is a part of the Jeff Meacham Network Multiverse of Media.
Straight from JHebert Studios, James covers the good, the bad, and the ugly, and gives his perspective on things. Now here is your host, James Hebert.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the JHebert Side of Things. This is going to be one of these haphazard shows this week where we kind of just talk about whatever and however. As you guys saw last week, I actually released 3 separate podcasts. And yeah, they got pretty decent viewership from me little channel. So that was pretty cool. I'm enjoying being consistent, but I figured this week we'd take it easy, especially with the impending documentary that I'm working on that's coming up, which will be released May 6th, hopefully, God willing, depending on last-minute changes to it or whatnot. The documentary is going to be coming out, so I won't be having a JHebert Side of Things next week, so fair warning on that, just because I want to make sure I get everything done. And if I have stuff I need to talk about, I'll talk about it on this podcast, obviously. But I kind of wanted to do this podcast now because obviously there's been stuff that's happened in the world of professional wrestling. And there was also one thing from the world of mixed martial arts that I just want to talk about. And we're going to start off with the MMA stuff. Now, right out of the gate, UFC 300 was a very good show. If you want to see somebody cover the entire event in a watch-along style format, Walter Alex Cruz actually did it, and I'll link his channel in the description and his video, so you could go check that out if you want to see the real-time fan reaction of somebody getting knocked out at the last second. But with that being said, we're going to be watching it here. It's from a TikTok user named Tannermax. And by the way, we will be talking about TikTok too. I might as well get that out of the way as well, just because. With that said, though, let's talk about this. This fucking knockout was one of the craziest things you will ever see in mixed martial arts. So, we're down to, I think, literally the final round of the BMF title. BMF title on the line. And this is how it ended. What a fucking knockout, bro. What a knockout. What a goddamn knockout, dude. Holy shit. I mean, come on. You can't get any more MMA than that, brother. You can't. It's so fucking badass, that knockout. Congratulations to that motherfucker. I want to make sure I know his name because I don't want to fuck this up. Because it was such a crazy, great knockout. The guy who had last second knockout had the last second knockout. UFC 300. Who was that? Max Holloway, bro. Good for you. Good for you. Unbelievable. Unbelievable fucking shot right at the end of the fight. That was so great. Dana White went on to sing the praises of that fight and saying it was like, that's exactly what the BMF title is all about. And it really is, man. That was some bad motherfucking finish. You gotta give him credit, man. Max Holloway, absolutely. He was the MVP of that entire card. No doubt in my mind. That's the thing everybody's been talking about, and good for them, man. It was a really, really, really good show from top to bottom. So if you haven't checked it out, go check out that card. I wish I was with Walter, you lucky bastard. I would have loved to have watched that with you. By the way, stay tuned for a watch-along event where Walter, Alex Cruz, and I will be the commentary duo for Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson, and including the undercard. So be on the lookout for that. That will be a fun little watch-along. With that being said, that's the positive. We're going to be... it's all downhill from here. Typically, I'd actually do this inverse and go upwards. But at this point, I kind of have to go into the negative. Now, I'm going to go with the most negative first, and then go with the least negative, kind of, in that regard. So, let's talk about it. Mr. Tony Khan showed up on camera and took a Meltzer driver and or Tony Khan driver, whatever the fuck they're calling it. I don't care. You know who that move belongs to. I will no longer be mentioning them by name for obvious reasons, like I said in the last podcast where I talked about them. However, I do want to talk about the show for Dynamite. What I'm going to do is we're going to do a little bit of corporate synergy, okay? And what I want people to understand is these are JJ's thoughts of what Dynamite was, okay? So when he says this, I'm not acknowledging them. He is acknowledging them on For the Love of Wrestling, which, by the way, you can catch every day. As far as I know, I think there might be one day he has off, but you could check it out every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, I believe, on the Cassidy 18 Studios. We're going to be taking a look at what JJ said specifically about the show. And he responded to a comment that I tweeted or commented when watching it. And it was very much necessary. Because they did some of the most questionable fucking shit in wrestling that I have ever seen anybody do. And look, this is coming from a guy that's seen all the criticism from AEW from the early days that I thought was unwarranted. I don't think it's unwarranted here because they're making actual mistakes now that indie companies back then would make. And I don't even think indie companies would make these fucking mistakes. This is ridiculous now at this point. But with that being said, let's get into it, shall we? Because I think it's worth talking about. But I haven't actually seen the beginning of the podcast, but let's see what JJ says. You know what? I'm actually going to pause here, and I'm going to watch the whole podcast so I know where to go. Alright, so here's the first part I want to kind of tackle before we get into anything else here.
Let's get into Dynamite now. Dynamite kicked off with the Elite and Jack Perry arriving at Daily's place. Separate cars, the Elite show up first, Jack Perry comes behind them.
Right off the gate, and I know he's going to touch on this because I've seen this podcast already. How do you not fucking open your goddamn show in the first goddamn segment with Swerve Strickland in the opener? Your first black male world heavyweight champion. How do you not know how to do the simplest of tasks at this point? This wouldn't have happened 2 years ago in AEW. This wouldn't have happened 5 years ago in AEW when they first launched. What the fuck are we doing? By having that be the first segment. And then to top it all off, because we're not even done.
Security then tried to prevent Jack Perry from entering, but the Massey brothers tell security to back off. He's with them. We then go inside the ring, and Orange Cassidy's music hits, and Trent Beretta attacks him as he tries to make his way to the ring. Once in the ring, and once he's beaten down Orange Cassidy a little bit further, Trent calls out Chuck Taylor and tries to convince him that Orange Cassidy never cared about him or them, that he's a conceited, arrogant prick. He was supposed to be their cheerleader, and he ended up making them his lackeys. He tries to convince Chuck of all this. They set up to give the people what they want. They're going to embrace in the ring. But Chuck says that he always thought that Trent was a piece of shit, and he throws punches at Trent Beretta, taking Orange Cassidy's side.
There's so much wrong with this, but I'm going to tackle the obvious one first. So you had the fucking peanut gallery, goddamn goof troop, come in. And again, I refuse to mention them by name anymore at this point. But they came in. And that's segment 1. Then, your second segment. Almost as if to prove a fucking point at this point. Then goes to the best friends angle. All due respect to Trent Beretta and Orange Cassidy, because they're great fucking workers. Hell, even all due respect to Chuck Taylor. That is an undercard feud at best. At best! What the fuck are we doing here? Why are we having these go back to back before the world champion? What the fuck are we doing? I don't understand this in the slightest. In the slightest. I don't get it. When you have a new champion, when you built it up on pay-per-view as this big emotional coordination, right? You fucking are supposed to make that the top priority. That's your A story. I think Eric Bischoff said it best on fucking 83 Weeks. That's your A story. That should be the big thing that everybody talks about. And by the way, it was the biggest thing that everybody was talking about by the end of the show. Heading into Dynamite! Nobody gave a fuck about the other idiots! No one! No one cared, and it's obvious! No, and then to top it off, by the way, which is fucking absurd to me, they follow it up with the first segment that everybody has already showed you, nobody gives a shit, and they always tank the fucking ratings. But then, as if that wasn't enough, then you fill it with that undercard feud that you had on the pre-show last pay-per-view. The pre-show. Now, granted, you may put this on pay-per-view at Double or Nothing on the main card. Fine. You may have a 6-man tag match that you're going to be doing with Orange Cassidy, Katsuyori Shibata, and, I don't know, Hook or something. And then maybe, Jericho has a faction under the Learning Tree with Jericho and Big Bill and Trent Beretta in that corner. I don't know, okay? Fine, I don't know. That's just an idea I'm throwing out there. But the fact is, it's not on main pay-per-view yet, and you had it on the pre-show on the pay-per-view. Why is that taking precedent over your world fucking champion, number one? And that's the biggest fucking issue. Number two, with the best friends angle. How does that make Trent Beretta the heel? Chuck Taylor fucking just being a fake friend like that? It's like, I always knew you were a piece of shit. Now, granted, I'm not saying that Trent didn't have his delusions of grandeur about how Orange Cassidy was treating them. Fair enough. That's how you're trying to make yourself look justifiable, and some people will either take that at face value or not. It's just the way of the beast in life and in pro wrestling and in drama. Fine. But then you fake to go for a hug and then you stop the hug and then say, I always knew you were a piece of shit. And then just fucking attack him because he attacked Orange Cassidy. Now, granted, it's understandable why you would attack him for attacking your other friend. Fine. But what the fuck? That's so ridiculous. That doesn't happen in real life. Why are you gonna then say, oh, you're a fucking shit friend. I knew you were a fucking douchebag. Huh? Huh? You've been ride or die with this guy. So much ride or die that you might as well be riding him on his fucking dick. What are you talking about? Hello? I'm sorry. I'm trying to understand the logic behind this. And again, that's not even the main point, because obviously the bigger issue's already been covered. But I remember when AEW would do this with the Elite back then when they were actually good. That's not how they fucking went about that. They fucking actually had legitimate reasons to kick Hangman out of the Elite. They had legitimate reasons to side with Kenny Omega, and Kenny Omega to leave Hangman and go on his own, and him go on his own, and then find new friends. And everybody had a misunderstanding, whatever. I wish I had imitated life there. But the point is, the Young Bucks didn't go to fucking Hangman Page and then be like, and by the way, I'm saying it in past context, not in current context, but the Young Bucks went to fucking Hangman and he's like, you're a piece of shit. No! That never fucking happened. So why is Chuck Taylor gonna do that? Stupid fucking booker, stupid writing, stupid everything here. I don't understand this. It's not hard to just write and make sure you stay within the context of not only your story, but your characters. And I think this, in part, is the problem with full creative freedom. I really do. Nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Anyway, that's just a side point. But the main point, you should not have these two segments air back-to-back before your world champion that just got crowned on the last show. You should have opened it with a coronation and a celebration and a promo with the new world champion. Or a promo package. Or something. Hyping up Swerve Strickland as the new AEW world champion. Because if anything was going to be first, you needed that to be first. And if he couldn't be there on the show to cut a promo, you needed to have a promo package explaining why he couldn't cut the promo. Or at the very least, showing a video package of him winning the world title, everybody being very emotional, all that shit, and then he's like, he'll appear next week on Dynamite right out of the gate to address his fans, to address the people that supported him, and to address whatever else he needs to get off his chest. That's it. It's not hard to book, it's hard to finance. We say it every fucking week on the Jeff Meacham Network, Multiverse and Media, and it rings more and more truer every fucking day. It's not hard to book. It's hard to finance.
Not a huge surprise here. Glad to see Chuck Taylor still on the side of Orange Cassidy. Is it a swerve? Is it going to last long? Still trying to figure out where Chris Statlander fits in all this. It was definitely an interesting angle to further at this point. We then go backstage and we get a video promo from Jon Moxley about his upcoming match against Powerhouse Hobbs.
So just to clarify, right? The Goof Troop is segment 1. The Best Friends are segment 1. And then the promo package for the IWGP World Champion from New Japan Pro Wrestling has a video package before your new World Champion in AEW. What the fuck are you doing? What are you doing?
If you're keeping track, we've now had 3 different segments, and we still haven't had our world champion yet.
Oh my God.
Well, at this point, we get Swerve Strickland coming out. Finally, our brand new AEW World Heavyweight Champion. But he doesn't get a microphone. He doesn't get to cut a promo. He doesn't get to celebrate his championship victory. No, nay. They put him in an eliminator match against Kyle Fletcher.
Who already, just to add, already is killing it with the Ring of Honor World Television title division. Why does he need to go for the World Championship? Why is this a match?
And this could have been a fantastic match. And it was very good for what it was. But the fact that the new AEW World Heavyweight Champion was in the opening fucking contest with no promo time in an eliminator match that they freaking let the challenger lose once again. And then they left the match while it was going to show the dumb fuck and Perry the Platypus.
That's good. I like that.
And Okada going into Tony Khan's office completely took away from the match.
I had a conniption with Ryan after I heard about this shit. A fucking conniption. What are you doing? You give him no promo time. You have 3 other fucking things that air before he shows up. You put him in a random ass eliminator match with no build whatsoever, and then you cut away to a segment completely unrelated to it. This is why I refuse to watch the television product, because of bullshit like this. This is why. I'm sorry, but like, you gotta understand it from a guy who's actually followed this company, which a lot of people tend to forget because they love to have this fucking weird ass thing because they drink so much of the fucking Tony Khan Kool-Aid. You all seem to forget. I've been with this company since day 0. Every iteration of day 0, by the way. You know the fucking current WWE Universal Champion? Yeah, I saw him win his first world title live. Okay? So please shut the fuck up with that one. Don't like it, fucking unsubscribe. Bite me. Alright? Now that I got that out of the way and I made that evidently fucking clear. When AEW would book this, and I'm not even saying this would be the fucking greatest thing to do, but back in the day, I can't even say I'm back in the day. They're fucking 5 years old. What the fuck am I talking about, right? But back when they first started, if they had a new championship coronation, they would have that person be aired on the first fucking segment, somehow. And then, typically, what they would do, and I remember this happened at least one time, they'd have a new champion. And then they would go in, and then a heel would interrupt, and then they would have a eliminator match, and or a championship match, or something of that nature, or just a regular one-on-one. In fact, I think this happened with Hangman and Bryan Danielson, which isn't that long ago. Now, why would you have him in the match like that? Why? I mean, in that end, it at least served a purpose back then, especially for the Bryan Hangman feud. But this doesn't serve a fucking thing. This doesn't serve anything. Back then, at least AEW would have given you airtime, would have let you talk, whether it was good or bad, and then they would have you just in a random fucking match. They did that with Cody when he won the fucking TNT title, right? They would at least do that. You can't even say this is what this is anymore. They didn't even give him airtime. And it's not like the fucking... Everybody wants to say he might not be great on the mic. He might not be great on the mic. It doesn't even matter if he's good on the mic. That's what's so fucking infuriating about it. And I'm going to go full screen, and then I'll go back to JJ when I'm ready. That's what's so infuriating to me about this. No. Fuck the goddamn charisma argument. Who gives a shit about that? In this company, this is your first black world champion. Your first black world champion. He should be front and center, front page news, which means he should be the first segment of the show and a promo. You want to do the fucking eliminator match after? Fine. It would have been way more fucking digestible. But that was the fucking top story. Not the fucking goof troop, not the best friends, and damn sure not Jon Moxley, much as I love him, who won a championship from another fucking promotion. None of that should take precedent over the first black world champion in your company's history. None. That's your A story, period. He should have gone out there, he should have cut a promo about his heritage, he should have cut a promo on how hard he had to work, all that shit. At the same time, they also should have said, now don't get me wrong, I'm still a violent man, I'll still curb stomp your ass to this ring mat with a double stomp if you just look at me funny. Right? So that way he doesn't lose any of his edge. That's the balancing act you have to act with that, okay? You do that, you're golden. But that's not what fucking happened. They didn't even fucking try to do that. What the fuck are we doing? Hell, if you didn't want the fucking world champion of all fucking people, you had other segments that took way more precedent than the fucking first 3 segments you aired. Seriously. I'm being dead serious, okay? Fuck me. You had the Jericho stuff, you had the fucking first contender for the international title. I think the way they did it was fucked up, which I know he gets into. I fucking hated the way they did it, but it was Will Ospreay, Roderick Strong coming out, right? All this shit. That was way more important than the first 3 segments you aired. Hell, I'm even okay with what you aired as a concept. I'm not going to tune in, personally. I could give a fuck. And I think there's a lot of people that share my sentiment. But, as a concept, that should be your last segment. Fine. That's your A-B. Or A1. Or A2, rather. So there's A1 and A2. A2 should end the night. A1 should start the night. Swerve should have been A1. What the fuck? This is why I don't tune into the television product, because of bullshit like this. This is why. And I'm sure he's going to go into why this is stupid in a minute. I probably covered all of his points, and if he did, I'm just reiterating what he's already said on Further Love of Wrestling. Again, check out the full review. I'm not going to play the whole review, But I did want to play this part because it's unfucking fathomable that they were this stupid here. This is not the AEW I grew to love.
Swerve Strickland is your new AEW World Heavyweight Champion. He should have been in the main event. He should have had the opportunity to cut a promo. He should have been in a more meaningful match.
Right. Like, and even then, if you wanted him to have the opener, fine. But he needed to cut a promo. Same difference. Main event or opener. But the opener, if he's opening, promo. Not the opening match. Fucking stupid.
What they did to Swerve was akin to what WWE was doing to CM Punk when he was the World Heavyweight Champion.
Yep.
And it's like, you're the champ, but you're not our guy. We're going to stick you in the middle of the card here in some bullshit feud.
Yep.
This was just fucking absurd. I don't understand the logic behind it, but it becomes very clear what the logic was behind it throughout the course of the evening, as this is now the second time in 20 minutes that we've seen the Elite and Jack Perry. Because we saw them arrive, then we had to cut backstage and put them in the bigger screen of a picture-in-picture, leaving Swerve and Fletcher in the small screen during the match.
Great way to show that you respect your first Black World Champion, by the way.
Swerve,
for the record, just before anybody in the fucking Kool-Aid camp says, you're claiming that AEW is racist? If you fucking think that I'm saying AEW is a racist company, you clearly haven't been watching me all that fucking long, okay? Far from the truth. 2 years ago, actually no, 3 years ago, Jesus Christ, just that much time has gone by, goddamn. 3 years ago, I was so pissed off that AEW had actual lies spread about them on how they were a racist company by Big Swole and fucking Leo Rush that I counteracted every point by showing the black people that they were pushing actively on their television. Every single person at one point during their television history at that time, in recent history at that time, that they were pushing. I could still give you that now, including Swerve Strickland. I'm not claiming AEW's racist. It's not a racism thing. It's a they don't know what the fuck they're doing thing. Okay? So let's just clear that up right fucking now. Alright? Cool.
Swerve, of course, did win, which means Kyle Fletcher is eliminated from contention for the title, which I've been going off about this for a minute. What is the point in having an eliminator contenders match if the person in the elimination spot doesn't get to win every now and again? In all the time that I've been watching AEW, I think I've seen one eliminator match where the person actually won.
And it wasn't even an eliminator match that anybody gave a shit about. It was a fucking Ring of Honor contest where it didn't amount to fucking anything anyway.
You need to build up competition for your champion. Having young guys like a Kyle Fletcher win, even though we know he's not going to take the title off of Swerve, at least begins to build up some of your talent. Kyle Fletcher's a member of the Callis family. He's got a long-standing connection with Will Ospreay. You could almost have Fletcher win via interference from the Callis family so as to not make Swerve look completely weak. And then have Fletcher be a guy that Swerve goes to before getting to Ospreay. Like, there's ways you could set this up. I understand you don't want Swerve to lose his first match out after winning the championship. That makes perfect sense to me. But then don't call this an eliminator match. Just book it because.
Yep.
We then go backstage and we get a promo from Thunder Rosa. And Deonna Purrazzo comes in, interjects herself into the promo.
Yeah, and this is where he talks about the audio issues, so I'll skip this part because if you didn't know, they had like a really bad audio sync up when it came to the actual like segment for the women, which was unfucking believable. Like, you should have had that shit sorted like hours before, but I understand shit happens. Maybe they did, and shit happens. If anybody gets that, it's me. But on top of all the other mistakes they were making, a fucking freak accident, if it was that, like this, was surely fucking not needed.
Sense. And thank you, James. This is why I refuse to watch the television product. Bullshit like that. They are on the verge of losing me. I really wanted to give AEW a chance, but they are seriously on the verge of losing me. I told you guys on Open Mic Night, and I told you guys on Inside the Mind of the Renegade, if things don't change by Double or Nothing, I am out. The only time you will see me talk about AEW is if there's an Open Mic Night topic or if I'm needed for commentary on a watch-along. Just horrid.
Now, you can check out the rest of the show. For the love of wrestling, I'll make sure to link that in the description and right here on the iCard. So go check that out. Normally, I would wait like right at actually, it's probably right in the beginning anyway. I like doing it right in the beginning of what I'm watching or reacting to. So there you go, there, dude. It's fucking absurd to me what we are doing with this show. Where this show has fallen off. You cannot tell me this is fucking long-term booking anymore. It's not long-term booking. We're not even close to long-term booking. This is exactly where WWE was, I would say, around 2006 to 2007. And it only gets worse from there. It only gets worse. We've all collectively have lived through this with WWE in two different eras. So to tell me, and in TNA, three different eras across two companies. Excuse me, my apologies. So you can't tell me that this isn't what's happening because you're lying to yourself. You're lying to yourself. Now, granted, there are long-term stories that they currently have. They have long-term rivalries. You got Swerve and Hangman. I'm sure you'll go back to Ospreay Danielson, which looks like that's exactly what they're going to do. Right? You can have freaking... I know you're going to have fucking, hopefully, Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong, because that match was a banger on pay-per-view for the international title. You're going to have Hook versus Jericho, I'm sure, again, if he resigns, which is a big if for anybody in that fucking locker room and nowadays. And that's fine, but it's like, what in the fuck are we fucking doing here? What are we doing? What are we doing with everybody else on the roster? I remember when AEW had storylines for everybody, and that all had something to have you engaged to watch the show. That's what I remember. Seriously. Like, I enjoyed a lot of what they were doing. The two episodes, or the two shows I really didn't like, was All Out 2020, because of the obvious with Matt Hardy getting concussed. And the Dark Order thing where they, the whole punch fake out thing. I might have had an issue with the Butcher and the Blades debut too. Right? That's 3 shows out of a string of TV where right up until Punk won the championship. That batting average was insane. Dude, we're not even hitting shit like Babe Ruth anymore. Seriously, we're not. And if we are, we're hitting shit like Babe Ruth after he was on the outs and was about to retire. I mean, Jesus Christ. We might as well be Barry Bonds when he threw for the White Sox. Like, and it's just simple fucking mistakes. Simple mistakes that you don't need to make on your television product. And in your locker room, which is where a lot of this shit fucking stems from. Here's another thing that I want to point out. And this has been a complaint for a minute. And it hasn't gone away. Spontaneity booking when shit goes south, like when somebody gets injured. Oh man, does Tony have a fucking conniption. He does not know what to do when that happens. And it's fucking evident with the way he books the show. It was fucking evident the way he booked Dynasty. It was a great show. Top to bottom, he's still the king of pay-per-view. I'll give you that. There's nobody that can put on a pay-per-view better than Tony Khan. But the television product is abysmal. On all three shows. On Dynamite, Rampage, and Collision. You have fucking 5 hours of television a week. And you're telling me you can't make that work? Not to mention the fucking 2 hours you have on Ring of Honor or on Honor Club. That includes 7 hours of television. You're telling me you can't make all this shit work? Make Ring of Honor matter. Make Rampage a fucking decent show to watch on a fucking Friday night. You're telling me you can't make Collision a lot more must-see, even with Punk gone? You're telling me you can't do all of this shit? It's abysmal. Fucking admit it. It's okay to admit it. Why have we gone so far back as to saying we can't call it out? So what? We just fucking sit there and take it like a bunch of fucking morons? The fuck are we doing? Speak out! Speak with your wallet! Stop paying for the pay-per-view! Hopefully that's actually happening. I know every other metric's fucking down. I'll give Tony credit, because the pay-per-view... You have such a stacked roster that to not have a fucking good pay-per-view buy is impossible. Especially in this day and age. At least for a current day pay-per-view. It's impossible. I'll give him that. But what is it doing for the TV? You all need to seriously, and I know people don't like these guys because they think that they hate AEW. I've heard nothing but they want the best for this company. I heard Bubba Ray, Bully Ray, and Eric Bischoff on their Wise Choices show come up with so many great ideas on how to book a story, on how to make things matter, on how to make the show feel important again. How the fuck do you not tap into that fucking brain? And if the answer is he's fucking soft with some of the criticism and he's being an asshole, you don't deserve to be a manager in wrestling. This is why people say Tony's not a boss, because of shit like that. Look, Eric Bischoff on this week's edition of 83 Weeks, which I literally just finished watching, which is essentially what spurred me on to make this show, right? For this week, anyway. He said something that was so fucking outlandishly untrue. And I get it. Okay? I'm not going to agree with Eric Bischoff all the time. But when he said AEW had no impact and no change to the wrestling industry, I call bullshit. Because it did have a lot of change. And I can tell you for a fact, as a weekly viewer of that product during that time, they absolutely had a lot of change. Before they even had television, they had long-term stories. They had Cody Darby. They had Hangman and Kenny. They had Pac versus Kenny. They had Kenny versus fucking Moxley, which stretched like 4 pay-per-views and 2 different televisions, right? And I just named 3 feuds with Kenny, but that's not just with Kenny. When Punk was arrived, Punk MJF, Adam Cole, he had a little bit of a thing with Orange Cassidy that stretched a long time, whether it was for good or for bad. Jericho Moxley, Cody MJF, the Pinnacle and fucking, the Pinnacle and the Inner Circle, even though they bungled it in the beginning. There was stuff there. There was stuff here. They were doing great long-term storytelling. They were doing long-term booking. Stuff that WWE completely lost sight of because they were worried about people leaving, like Brock Lesnar did and The Rock did. And Austin, having to retire early. Fucking Tony was doing that. And that's why people stuck with it, because they were giving us something to sink our teeth into on a weekly basis. That's how they changed the industry, because they went back to the roots of how wrestling's supposed to be done. It absolutely had an impact on the wrestling industry. And Eric Bischoff saying that it didn't is absolutely a horrid fucking take. And I don't blame Conrad for wanting to almost rage quit there on the spot and cut the podcast short. And I could see it etched all over his face. And I think if he wasn't friends with Eric in real life, he probably would have. I'm not going to deny that. But, and here's the but, it hasn't impacted the fucking industry lately. It hasn't. And to an extent, there is some truth to what Bischoff said in that, even if AEW didn't exist, somebody else would have taken that place because they would have made a bigger star. Because Vince would have been out regardless. That's true. That's true. If it wasn't Cody, it would have been somebody else. That's not a knock on Cody. But that's the truth. It would have been somebody else. Now, I argue that it would have had more impact if it was anybody besides Cody. You can speculate on those numbers all day if you want, because we don't have those numbers of the alternate universe right in front of us. But I argued that if AEW wasn't around to push WWE to actually be better, and Vince trying to ignore it in the beginning until Triple H took over, and then he's like, let me show you how this shit's supposed to be done, we wouldn't have gotten that. That's where AEW did change the industry and shape the industry as it is today. Back to its roots, back to long-term booking. We're getting it for all storylines now across WWE. We're getting it with Sammy Chad Gable. I'm sure we're going to get it with Sammy Gunther, Sammy Chad Gable. Hell, they're probably going to book a fucking triple threat that's going to make sense. We got it with, they're even doing it with good short-term booking. Like Kevin Owens, Logan Paul, and Randy Orton. Stuff like that is happening on WWE's television. All their stories are something that you can somewhat sink your teeth into. You're not getting that with AEW anymore. You're not. On the weekly product, you're just not getting it. It's an abysmal product to fucking watch. And it all goes back to Tony Khan. And this is where I implore Tony that even if Eric Bischoff said something as outlandishly stupid as that, you should still listen to some of his criticism and some of the ideas that he has passed around. You should. It would work. And even if it doesn't work, it's worth a fucking shot. At least have an open mind. You're not even having an open mind because you shut yourself away because you think everybody's fucking attacking you. I couldn't fucking believe I heard him say this in the press scrum. To be AEW is to be under constant attack was outlandishly foolish and stupid. Now, granted, what a lot of people aren't going to fucking remember is that Tony wasn't firing shots first. I'll give you that. Triple H did on the Hall of Fame that year in 2019. I won't deny that. I was there when it happened. I was in New York when I heard about that. Okay? So I know it happened. Alright? But just ignore it. Just fucking ignore it. Triple H was never your enemy. Vince was the enemy of wrestling. He's no longer there. Why get pissed off with Hunter over the minute, littlest of fucking shit? Why take the fucking endless fucking jabs after that one comment? Why? I don't understand it. And I think Eric Bischoff also said this, and it proves point. You know, he showed up, he got Tombstone piledrivered, and I'm not going to call it by the fucking actual name. I refuse to. Okay? He took a bump. He's not a television persona. He's not. He's definitely not a boss for the same reasons that we say he's not a television character. He's too much of a nice guy. And nice guys do not like it when you don't like them. You don't. I should know. I was like that for the longest time, and it damn near has fucked me. So much so that I'm out of that funk now, because I refuse to be in that funk any longer. Right? So, I'm doing the right things now, even if it fucking went way too long without doing anything. But I'm making sure I make up for it now. I'll tell you that. You have to be an asshole sometimes. I know that's not what we want to do, but sometimes you have to be a dick. Not all the time. If there's ways that you can, let people down gently, go ahead and do that. That's fine. But you need to learn how to take criticism. You need to understand what people are saying. You cannot take it so much to heart that you lose sight of everything you worked for up to that point. Which is what Tony Khan's done. You cannot argue this fact with me. It is impossible to argue that. It is. That show on Wednesday sounded horrific, abysmal. And I need to actually watch it because I need to know. I need to know if it was actually as bad as I think it is. Because I remember when, aftermath shows would be kind of lackluster, and I don't know why AEW always had a problem with that, but they would. But I remember some of them being bangers. I remember some of them being alright. I enjoyed my 2 hours. 1 hour, whatever. I would have pulled my fucking hair out watching that show. Seriously, I would have. Whatever hair that's not thinning currently. I would have lost my shit. When your two best segments involve the best friends, which is a preliminary angle and an undercard angle at best, and the fucking learning tree, which Jericho is getting over to his credit, but literally on the pay-per-view, the fans were chanting, "Please retire," right? That's bad. That's fucking horrific. That those are your two best segments on the whole show. And the Jericho segment wasn't even that good. I saw that. I saw that segment. What the fuck are we doing with Big Bill? What the fuck was that garbage? He comes out, he's like, I want to join your learning tree, Chris. And then Jericho's like, I'll consider it. Yeah, that's fine. I've been watching you for a while. I'll consider it. And then so emphatically says, watch me. Watch me. Huh? That's it? How do you do a backstage segment? In the ring? Oh my fucking god, dude. Like, I'm sorry, but like, Jericho was the best part of that segment, and that's the only reason I even say it was good. That's faint praise. So Jericho, and that's a low bar, and then the fucking best friend segment was like the only good angle. Everything else sucked. Do better. And don't pretend like I'm some fucking AEW hater who doesn't want fucking AEW to succeed, because that's far from the fucking case. There's my rant on that one. I gotta pause because I'm getting a call. So anyway, that was the AEW portion. I'm not really gonna speak on it anymore, and I'm glad I at least got to talk about something that wasn't what the fuck has been said ad nauseum. So that's at least good. But unfortunately, we got we got a thing we definitely need to talk about, and this is the TikTok ban. This is the second negative topic. This is a video made by Moist Critical. Kind of started off with that, so we'll talk about that and how that could affect social media use in the future going forward, at least in America. So there you go. So yeah, this is a video by Moist Critical kind of talking about it. Let's get on with that, shall we?
There's two things you would never confuse me as: a tall person and a fan of TikTok. I've made it pretty clear over the years that I think TikTok has been largely detrimental to the development of the younger generation, as well as just overall a negative effect on people as a whole. In particular, the attention span of people. I really think that this is going to be something that'll be studied for decades to come. When we reach a point where human beings can't sit down for more than 30 seconds without squirming in their chair if they're not blasted with, finger family jingles and just perpetual stimulation from GTA gameplay and Subway Surfers. Like, I do think it has had a noticeably awful effect on people's brains. However, there is something I love. Freedom. I love it more than Garfield loves lasagna. My blood runs red. My belly's filled with cheeseburgers and brewskis. When I have a birthday party, I ask the attendees to sing the Pledge of Allegiance instead of the Happy Birthday song. If I wasn't a human, I'd be an eagle. That's how much I love freedom. God damn it. God bless. So, I think it's a beautiful thing that we have the freedom to download TikTok and subject ourselves to that fucking mind rot. And this is something that I've covered for a few years now, because this is like a boogeyman that keeps rearing its head occasionally, like some kind of cameo in every season of the United States, with the whole TikTok ban. That's been a proposal for years now. But recently, it's been gaining a lot of steam, and today, the president has signed a bill that will force a sale of TikTok, and if they don't divest after 9 months, they will be fundamentally banned.
So, with that said, and I'm not going to play the whole video again, you can check out the whole video when you can, but I agree with Charlie. I agree with every point he made that TikTok is, I think, bad. However, if you want to download that, absolutely you should have a right to do that. He makes a point later on that I don't think government should really decide what we should or shouldn't do, because when you give government that much power, they take a lot of rights away. And boy, have we seen that over the years. I'm just saying. And that's on both fucking sides, by the way. Both sides are fucking guilty on that one. So yeah, I mean, and it really comes down to so many Americans have TikTok, and you just saw the picture that Charlie showed there. So many people have grown their businesses on TikTok. I actually knew a friend in college that grew their business from TikTok while they were going to school full time, and they grew their business from that, and they actually parlayed their degree to get an even better offer from other, deal brokers and whatnot to fund more money into the business. Meanwhile, TikTok was helping them keep it afloat until they became bigger and bigger in the state. So, TikTok is a huge platform to be able to do stuff like that on. There's positives for sure when it comes to TikTok. There's also negatives when it comes to TikTok. That's and I mean every fucking platform on social media ever. In the history of ever. Okay? It was like that on MySpace back in 2007. It was definitely like that when it came to fucking 4chan. Now, here's the problem with TikTok. TikTok has a lot of shady shit go on in there. It's very similar to what 4chan was back then. It's very similar to what Tumblr was back then. A lot of shady shit happened, but there was some good that came out of it, because there were good people on those apps. They were few and far between, but they existed. That's kind of TikTok's issue. And I feel like the government knows that this is kind of the shady shit going on in the world, and they decide, okay, we're going to ban this now because there's so many complaints about it. So we'll pass the bill to make sure that they need to sell or it will be banned in the United States. So we'll give them a deadline. I bet you nobody buys it. But until they can have someone buy it, no. What it really comes down to is the Americans want access to your data, and they don't want China to have access to it. Because let's be honest, every government body probably has some form of access to your data. That's how it's going to be, right? It's just the way it is now, ever since the fucking Freedom of Information Act, ever since 9/11. That's just how it is. That's the world we live in now, right? So, the whole reason they want it is because they want to maintain access to their citizens. I don't even think they give a fuck about the rest of the world. But the point is, they would have the citizens of America and the rest of the world's information. They just don't want China to have it. So, it really comes down to this power struggle of TikTok, is now in a position where they have to sell to America or to some American buyer so that way they can keep it going. Now, TikTok has decided to challenge this in court, and they will be taking this to the federal court to, because they deemed it unconstitutional. And here's the thing. They're going to win because it is absolutely fucking unconstitutional, regardless of how you spin it. It is. But they're not doing it because they want it for the good of their people that have used TikTok, although I'm sure that's definitely a somewhat of a reason. But the only reason they are actually fucking doing it is because they make so much goddamn fucking money on TikTok. It's actually absurd. Okay? That's the only reason why they're even keeping TikTok around. Or they want to keep TikTok around, at least in the U.S. Because they have such a wide consumer base in the U.S. So, that's really the only reason. But it's a legitimate reason. Because there's a lot of people that use the app, and there's a lot of people that should have the freedom to use that app if they choose to download it. We should have the freedom to download whatever stupid app we want. Put it this way, right? I have this app called Flappy Dunk. It's a fucking Flappy Bird clone, right? Made by fucking Voodoo Entertainment, the world, Acid Cousins, right? If I want to fucking tap the screen like a fucking dumbass, right? I should be able to do that, right? Like right now, my personal best is 556 on Flappy Dunk. Which, if you don't know how Flappy Dunk works, you're swishing a basketball through hoops, but it's very similar to Flappy Bird. But instead of hoops, instead of pipes, you get hoops, right? I should be able to subject myself to that brain rot. just to enjoy it for a couple of hours or something. Maybe an hour, maybe 30 minutes, whatever. However long I want to spend on it is however long I want to spend on it. I should have that right. I should have that freedom. I should not be told by the government what apps I should or shouldn't download. I agree with Charlie's point there. But the reason why TikTok is trying to challenge this isn't because they care about American freedoms at all. They could give fucking dick all about fucking American freedoms. They just give a shit because America has the most consumer market value. That's just how it is. The most people that are on TikTok is Americans. We'll see where this goes. I'm kind of curious, morbidly, on how this is all gonna go. I will give you that. But yeah, it is what it is. And yeah, that's kind of the third thing as far as bad news. Here's the, I don't even know if you could say this is the least bad. I think this is probably somewhere in the middle between the AEW thing and the TikTok thing. We went and talked about AEW. Alright. Now we're going to talk about WWE. And specifically WWE 2K. And to me, this is a big, big thing, because this has been a problem with video games for ages. It's not even just strictly to the WWE. This is a problem with, video games in general. And that's WWE banning mods, making patches to make sure mod packs cannot be used in certain games. And we got Tony Pizza Guy. I'm actually going to play this whole video because you need to understand the full context of this. I'm not going to play the full video on the second one because I got two videos from him on this topic. But the first one, I want everybody to listen to what Tony says because, and by the way, shout out Deadlock, my boys. Check out the DBW Fire intro if you haven't. I'll put that in the iCard as well. But anyway, I want you to listen to this because this is WWE 2K23, and this sounds like it's not recent because it was 2K23. However, couple things. This was 5 months ago, and they did a very similar thing for 2K24, which is why this is brought up again now. So, we'll play this video, and we'll give our thoughts.
Today might be the end of the WWE 2K23 and beyond community creations and the craziness that comes out with that game, including all of the most updated looking characters in the roster that you can get, because 1.21 added a mod block, anti-cheat they call it, anti-cheat, which will block people from doing the mods, which had like multiple hair and different things that made it look very authentic to what they should be in the game. And they decided that they're going to nix that, get that out of there, and not let you mod the game on the PC. Now you can mod that, they would do, and then they would throw that on community creations. You could download all these crazy community creations, and they would look fantastic. One of the big things that was happening with it was people were getting My Faction stuff, modding it into the game, and then uploading on community creations.
We're going to be revisiting that in the second video that Tony made on this. This is a recent video that was published about this because they just banned a bunch of creators that were modding the My Faction stuff into community creations, which I kind of see. I kind of understand to an extent, but not enough to where you just completely sabotage the fucking community creations. That's a fucking whole left field approach on that one.
Now, a lot of those have been blocked, or you couldn't use them, or there was things that were blocking it from happening. But that was one of the main reasons why they did the mod patch in 1.21, is because they didn't want to give the My Faction stuff that let people mod that into the game, and they're trying to get people to play My Faction and pay for it. This live service that we've been all talking about is this live game service, and they said, we don't want that. We want people to play My Faction and unlock the characters. The great fix for that would be, if you don't want people to mod it in the game, well, when you actually get them in My Faction, you can play with them in other modes.
Say it louder, Tony! Please say Please say it louder. Please say it louder. Yes. You said good thing. You said very good thing. It's so absurd that they... And you can even attribute this to the current game right now where they have Brock. And I get what Brock did. I get it. I know. It's fucking awful. I'm not denying that. But you were days away from the game being released. Don't take Brock out of the game and only have him playable in the fucking Road to WrestleMania mode. That's a fucking cheapskate thing. And I guarantee you people probably hacked the game and uploaded them on community creations there, and that's probably what got a lot of people pissed off. It's stupid. You shouldn't have done that. Especially for the fucking poor developers that developed them in the game. But I digress. With the My Faction stuff, and this has been a problem anyway. My Faction, from what I heard, is fucking awful anyway. It's an awful mode. Nobody gives a shit. Barely anybody actually fucking plays the mode for that. My Faction meant nothing when it was fucking introduced. My Faction means fucking dick now. It doesn't mean anything. You know what gives the game longevity over a lot of other competitive brands? The Community Creation Suite. And the people who mod the game to give these authentic characters some fucking life that keep the game alive. Say it louder, Tony. Please, God.
The big issue with that is they don't have everything done. Like entrances and stuff aren't actually in the My Faction, so you can't actually get their entrances. They wouldn't have the updated entrance, stuff like that, so it just wouldn't work, and there's things missing from it. So that's why you can't use the My Faction outside of the My Faction. Now going forward in the future, would that be something they could do? You get it in My Faction, you can do it there? Sure, maybe that's something they would do, but they have yet to do that. But now they're...
Because... Oh, Jesus. I didn't even realize I did that. I don't even know what button I just hit to make all that happen. Anyway. The problem with that is, and to Tony's point, they could do that. But they won't do that because instead of working for the community and hiring people from the community that made these mods, they go against the modders and they go against the community who like and enjoy the mods. That's what they're going to do. It's the same bullshit argument as the fucking emulation people. Anybody that emulates, anybody that mods, they're going to get the shit end of the stick from either Nintendo or 2K or some other publisher because you're taking assets from the game and improving upon it, but they view it as stealing content. When in reality, they're actually improving upon its content. Like, it makes no sense. You are getting replayability out of it any goddamn way. Why are we concerned with this shit? Why are we concerned with it? I genuinely don't understand it. I'll never understand it for as long as I am. This is why I'm not a modern gamer, by the way. Because they just fucking do this bullshit. And by the way, they were doing it during the fucking last game I purchased in 2K14 as well. Actually, technically it was 2K15. I hated it then. Hate it now. I think microtransaction gameplay is the worst kind of gameplay. I really believe that. I really do. I think it's a goddamn scam. And that's what a lot of this boils down to, is money. It's money. It's a fucking pyramid scheme in video games now. When in reality, if you just made the fucking game good, and you have a very good community creation suite to boot and allow people to have the freedom to do what they want on there, like the mods, you're guaranteed to get more of a profit. If you actually work with the mods and you hire some of these modding teams to develop your next year's game. Because Lord knows you shouldn't be doing yearly titles, but if you're going to, you owe it to yourself to probably hire these people that are actually making the game better. Just a fucking thought.
Just straight up banning mods. And this is something that I don't like from the WWE.
Now you don't need to be a tech genius
damn it,
or business expert to create.
And by the way, I can't use ad blocker, so you'll just have to fucking deal with it, folks. Sorry. It's just the best I got in the situation. So anyway, we move.
WWE games, but it's the turn of the cycle of how gaming is going now with the WWE. They want people to spend money on the game. They're trying to get people to go into that pay service, so community creations is going to take a hit. For me, the way I see community creations is it is a way to hold over the game until the next year's game comes out. My faction, for me, wouldn't do that. I wouldn't go into my faction to try and unlock everything. That wouldn't be something that would be for me. But people that see this and they go, okay, community creations are there. I can go download a guy that looks just like the guy. Or let's say I want somebody in AEW. I can go download them. They look just like their AEW. I can play as them. But now with the mods, they won't let you have the most coolest looking authentic person in the game. The way mods are is that they actually find a workaround to get this to work with the game and the system.
Before we even continue with that, not only is my community creations way better for longevity purposes and for people to actually buy the game. It's probably why most people buy the fucking game, let's be fucking honest with ourselves. It's genuinely because they don't give a shit. They don't give a shit with any of the other fucking modes in the game. They haven't for a long time. They haven't. Ever since it blew up in WWE 12, holy shit, have they not cared about any other game modes. It was even like that when THQ had it. And if you think THQ was around still to this day, and they didn't fucking apply this fucking trade, you're out of your fucking mind. You're out of your mind. It's just how it is. It's stupid, though, because my faction is so awful, and it's glitchy, by the way. I remember watching, ironically, his buddy, CM Pulse, James Darnell. I remember when I did the DPW Fire intro, and I was tuning into a live Twitch stream and letting him know, hey, I did the fucking intro, right? Right when I get on there, and I think this is right after Johnny was done going live, he went to Twitch and streamed the Pulse's stream and gave a little stream boost to his audience and whatnot. So, the minute we get on there, he's playing my faction mode and the shit's glitched. He sees part of the fucking menu up, meanwhile he's trying to fucking play the fucking match and he can't do it. And he has to just basically rely on chance and then fucking get a lucky pin. This is in 2K22, by the way. This was 2 years ago. So, not only are the modes in the game shit compared to community creations, but it also is again, it's microtransaction, which nobody fucking likes paying for. Hardly anybody ever likes fucking paying for it, unless you have fucking stupid money to spend, right? And on top of that, it's it sucks anyway. It's not a fucking longevity fucking holder of the game. It's not. It's a glorified fucking arcade mode. It really is. It's a glorified campaign. And they already have a campaign as well, and it's not even close to what the campaigns used to be back during SmackDown vs. Raw 2011, or WWE 2K14, or even back then, the fucking Road to WrestleManias. It's none of that now. You don't get any of that shit. So why would anybody give a shit? Why would anybody care? Anyway, rant aside, this is going into and again, it gets worse. You think it gets better, it doesn't. Unfortunately, it gets worse.
And it's a cool little way to support the game, even though you're not getting new content from the game. No official DLC. Now there is the My Faction stuff, but no official DLC is released. So you have these community creations where you go, okay, I can get the brand new attire from, let's say, Finn Balor that just happened on television or whatever it may be. The Miz had this, or something went down with LA Knight, and I can get the brand new LA Knight attire from the pay-per-view and even get a arena that looks awesome. And with mods, you could do even some crazier stuff, and it would look even more realistic and more authentic. However, they decided to just kill the modding community, which is huge for this game because literally every video game I know that has mods and people use mods like this to keep improving the game and building upon it, that keeps the game going and that keeps the franchise alive. you know that there's a limited amount of people that play the game. You get the launch period of the game, people drop off, and then you have a certain core, hardcore audience of the game. The hardcore audience that play this game would love for the PC modding community to mod the game and put those things out in community creations and play it and have everything. That's awesome. But if you're going to take that away from everybody, that's going to take your hardcore audience. It's going to shrink it even smaller than what it is, and people are going to be very upset. And I know the people that are modding the game, they're probably going to find a workaround for it, or they're going to have some discussion with 2K somehow. I know that a lot of people try to talk in their Discord server and stuff like that, so maybe they'll see the feedback, the backlash and stuff like that, and they'll go, oh yeah, maybe we should change things. But you're going to see those modding people who go, it's just not worth my time. It's not worth my time trying to figure this out and making it work. If they're not even going to support it, why would I go and put in all my hard work to try and do that?
Right away, and that's the biggest fucking thing that I have with every company that's doing this. Why work against the modding community of any game? Why do that? The only fucking game that I know they do this, that they actually work with the modding community for, is the Marvel vs. Capcom series. The modding community there is nuts, and it's the only fucking community that actually is encouraged to create mods for the game. Like, it's the only fucking community. It stinks. And I bet you they actually get paid if they come up with an idea by Capcom. Lately, anyway. I mean, it's not outright said, but I would imagine so if they're fucking encouraging the modding community to fucking create mods for the games. Whether they're old school or new. That's the thing that doesn't fucking make sense to me. You have all these modders, you could easily just hire these people and encourage them to make more mods and see how we can improve the game. Why would you discourage that? Especially in today's digital age where if you have the right technology, you could do anything you wanted. At the end of the day, you paid for the base game. You should be able to do whatever the fuck you want with it. And fuck your fucking microtransactions, because that's not going to keep the game fucking flourishing. You know what is keeping fucking Street Fighter flourishing? Street Fighter 6? Their fucking online campaign is fucking absurd. It's great. Because there's so much to fucking do in that. You know why DC Universe Online was as popular as it was for fucking years? Because of their online campaign, and there was so much to do, and they kept updating it year after year. Make a campaign like that, and maybe people would be less fucking, needy to fucking, mod the game. And even if they mod the game, it just gives you more money. People are going to buy the game because of these mods, probably. So why fucking discourage it? It makes no fucking sense to me. It doesn't. It never will. There's too much upside, and it's like they see it as a fucking down. And it's a constant fucking problem. But I've never talked about it on this podcast. I don't think I've really talked about it in many other podcasts. And if I did, I barely was able to give my fucking thoughts on it. But I swear, it's like fucking Groundhog's Day every day with this shit.
Honestly, again, the lifeblood of this game is those people that are on community creations, keeping it going for so long. If they're going to switch the formula of the game going into next year's game and how it's going to work going into the future, the modding community is, I think they're going to be phased out if this is the way they want to go. I talked about it in a previous video where I talked about if this game shifted to a live game service, which is like, let's say you get one game like a Fortnite, but then there's updates you can pay for, and there's like a battle pass type thing. You can unlock stuff, attires, things like that. You can choose which characters you want to unlock, stuff like that. But that's all money that you have to spend on the game. And if that's something that they want people to spend their money on the game and keep supporting the game like that, they're going to kill the modding community in favor of this. And would that be good? Would that be bad? There's pros and cons to each side of it.
Go with both and get the pros of both. It's not that fucking difficult. It's not that difficult. What needs to happen is they need to fucking stop making this a yearly title as well, which is half the fucking issue here. They need to fucking actually go the Street Fighter method with how they do their games. You know, say what you will about AEW Fight Forever, because Lord knows that game is fucking trash. But there's one thing they are doing right, and their DLC content is going to be a fucking yearly thing, or a quarter yearly thing, or half a yearly thing, depending on the time. They'll give you characters to download, and you'll be able to play Fight Forever and use those characters to play. You get a large roster as a result of that. Now, I wish there was more replayability, and they did a lot more for the Creation Suite and had a Community Creations, and had a way better campaign than they fucking did. But, for a base, they might use that as a skeleton for next year's game, if there is even a next game at this point, with the way AEW is going. But, that method has worked. It's worked for Street Fighter long before there was ever a DLC. You know how many fucking Street Fighter 2s there were before they fucking came out with Street Fighter 2, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo? You know how many fucking Street Fighters there were before we got Ultra Street Fighter 4? Which was the final edition of Street Fighter 4? It works. It's a proven metric. It works. Fuck, Fortnite is literally alive to this day because of the Battle Pass, as fucking Tony said. So why not just use that method in your game? And give people DLC to unlock more shit. Whether it's for my faction, whether it's for more Road to WrestleMania shit, whether it's for fucking more people that you sign to the WWE and, you know, scan their models, put them in the fucking game. And have this big, gigantic roster by the end of it, and this crazy amount of crazy community creations, while allowing people the freedom to mod it and add stuff to the community creations to create more and not be so limited, and allow people to express their artistic streak in this creation mode. You know how much money you would be making if you went with both and instead of either or none of the fucking above? Just a fucking thought again. Like, I'm serious.
But literally, the community creations has been like the lifeblood of this game. It literally kept it going for so many years. Not even just this game, but you look in the past, community creations has been like the main reason why this game has been awesome, why it's been carried on. And with the modding community coming in and supporting this game the way they did,
yeah.
Saying, okay, we're going to give you some crazy cool stuff that you couldn't get anywhere else. Check it out right here. This is crazy. And people play it and they unlock it and they go in and they download it and they make YouTube videos on it, and people watch the YouTube videos and they go, oh, this is cool. I'll go download it. I'll jump on the game to play it. And that's all.
Yeah, dude, do you know how many fucking modded games I have? Just because I saw a YouTube video? Seriously, it's great. Why discourage that? It makes me want to play the game. Like, and for example, too, like, if you're a fucking older game, like a fucking disc game from, like, the early 2000s and shit, or a cartridge game from, like, the 90s, like, just for, seriously, like, chances are, you're not making money on those games. But people could still have creative freedoms with it. Especially if they bought the fucking license for the game anyway. So why not let people fucking create and explore? Some of the modding community in every fucking game is some of the most talented individuals I've ever seen in my life. Why work against that? Why? It makes no sense.
Well, it is. You just want people to play your game.
Yep.
They put out the game. You want people to play it, and if you have the mods, people go check them out on the YouTube videos and say, "Oh, I see this cool mod. There's a sweet arena that got modded into the game, or whatever it may be." But if they completely crush the mods, people are not going to be able to go and do this cool stuff.
What is hilarious to me is I remember there was a mod of, like, I think it was CM Punk when he first debuted in AEW. and he looked exactly like his model, like his actual real life model and real life counterpart from that time in AEW. Dude, that fucking video alone, and it came at the perfect time, got like 4 million views. I guarantee you at least 25% of that audience went and fucking downloaded that mod. That modded CM Punk. Guaranteed. They probably, if they didn't have the game, I guarantee you at least a tenth of those fucking 25% probably bought the game just to fucking play that mod. Like, again, it's a fucking, there's so much benefit that they don't even fucking see because they're so nearsighted. It's actually absurd. It's actually unbelievable.
That's what it is. It's a video game. It's a crazy cool video game that people love. The WWE fan base is huge. The wrestling fan base is huge. And they just want to support this game if the game is supporting the community. Because it's got to go both ways. It really does.
Yep.
You can't have the community doing all the work and then the game says, we don't even like that. We hate that. And hopefully there's huge backlash for it. And they go, we don't like this. And people start getting in their ears because that's what it's going to take for us as a community to come together and say, you know what? I don't like that there's not mods in the game. And they have to hear this and go, okay, well, let's talk about it. Let's come up to some solution. I know there's many games that have mods and they support them and they actually put them out on Steam and there's like a whole modding thing. You can download them. It's
And nothing against you, Tony. I agree with everything you're saying, but the problem is with talking to the with modders talking to the companies of a lot of these publishers, dude, it's like pulling teeth. It really is. It's like pulling teeth.
really, really cool and it's really awesome and it keeps the game fresh and new and innovative. And then they even build on top of it. I mean, if you look at the way that video games have changed over the years from what it was to what it is now, mods have been a huge thing that keep games going. And the community creations for the WWE games is the number one thing. Even when you talk about the AEW game, everyone says, I want a community creations because then you can download creations. And with the modding, you can make even sweeter creations. You can have the craziest thing ever. However, they want you to use that My Faction. They want you to unlock that stuff. They want you to pay for it. They want you to get in and spend your money on the game. And I don't know. I don't know if that's the right move for them. I don't know if that's a good move. If
You are taking the heart and soul of the fucking game away when you do shit like this. You really are. You are. And it's not fucking cool. It's not.
they're going to continue to push My Faction as their big thing going into next year's game, or they're going to go somewhere different with it. But honestly, losing goodwill with the community is not good. It's a move that I don't think they should have made. I mean, is it really hurting the game that much? Are you losing money from people modding this game that much? Is it really, like, if you look at it, right? If you look at it on like a scale here, you go, is it really tipping the scale that much where people go, I don't know. I just don't see it. I don't see that the mods would kill it. If you embrace the mods and say, bring it on, see what you can make, and we'll support it. We'll put out some mod tools so you can actually make this game better.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Like, they should do that. Especially considering the fact that it's legitimately the only fucking mode that's getting any traction for your fucking people to buy the game anyway! Tell me I'm telling lies there. It's the only fucking goddamn mode anybody buys this game for. They sure as hell aren't buying it for the gameplay, although they have improved that to a degree. They sure as hell aren't buying it for My Faction. We've already fucking dispelled that bullshit. And nobody is doing any content on the Road to WrestleMania season this year because all you're doing is shitty-ass cutscenes. Which make no sense, because you don't need the cutscenes, because you fucking animated the actual fucking cutscene. So why put the cutscene in? Why put the cutscene in? You're getting fucking people claimed because of that. WWE's already anal about that anyway. It's impossible to fucking do any fucking goddamn, game. Like, any playthrough of that mode. It's stupid. It's absolutely infuriatingly stupid. Right? So the only thing you have that's actually giving you any money and any longevity for any more money at this point is community creations!
They could build the game even better in the future because people go, oh, this mod's awesome. And then 2K can go, maybe we should put that in the game next year. Maybe we should throw a hotfix out and get that in the game. Something like that, you know. If they support it, the community will love them, and that's just something that I love. I don't know how the scale works with 2K and WWE and all this and the licensing from a character and the yada, yada, yada. It's a whole red tape kind of thing, so I don't know. Honestly, I would not lose the goodwill of the community because that's the lifeblood of any video game. And if you lose them, if you lose the people that are doing community creations and the people that love playing this game, the people that want the hardcore fan base that stick with the game after all the shit's gone down, then that's where the game starts going down and the franchise starts going down and people don't like it. But we'll see. I need to know what you guys think, though. Let me know in the comments.
Yeah, and that pretty much ends that video. I think part of the problem, as we talk about this in the next video, because they've done the same shit. They're really hammered down on that on 2K24. What's absurd to me, genuinely, like, what's absurd to me, is we have this possibility of that being able to be a thing, right? And they don't even explore it. They don't even try to explore it. In fact, they fight against it. And we're all over here like, huh? The fuck? And what's absurd to me is, like, even if there is red tape, like, you're not the one making it. Hell, you don't even have to develop the mod tools, but let the people who bought your game have the freedom to do what they want with the game. It's just absurd. So, and then they hammer it down where they go against that entirely. Watch this.
So WWE Games have finally done it. They have removed one of the best content creators for community creations. What's the status? You probably know them. They have some of the greatest stuff that you can go download on community creations. But today, they have actually said they've got an online ban for this. And the online ban reads as such. This is a permanent online ban. We were recently alerted that this account has been associated with inappropriate content. This is a violation of our end user license agreement, or the EULA, which every player accepts prior to accessing WWE 2K24 online features. Accordingly, this account has now been permanently banned from the 2K24 online platform. This means you won't be able to access any online content or features with this account. This ruling is final, and ban appeals will not be accepted. Wow. That is huge. A ban, a permanent ban for what's the status, meaning they can't play online, they can't do anything online, they are not even able to just play a match online, they can't do anything at all, which is kind of crazy. You think maybe they could just be banned from community creations, but that is not the case. They got a permanent ban online. Before they got the permanent ban, all of their content from community creations had actually been deleted.
Real quick, and I want to talk about this. Why would you be so against The Rock
crazy.
here?
You think
why
maybe
would you
they could
be
just
so
banned from
against these community creations?
But
all because he's using my faction assets. Meanwhile, look at what he's creating for the community. This fucking final boss version of The Rock is sick. Look at
that
this.
Is not the case. They got a permanent ban online. Before they got the...
Look, now, granted, Rock looks like a fucking egghead, but I think that's just most people who usually port the faces over.
Permanent ban.
But look at that fucking attire, dude. It's a carbon copy of what The Rock usually has.
And they said that they were not sure what happened. According to support, they weren't really sure what happened. They said they removed my uploads, not me. No idea what I do next, as this is overall tedious and boring at this point. Appreciate the support regardless of what happens next.
There goes one. And I guarantee you, so will a lot of other people are going to protest this by not modding there anymore. And the game's going to tank. I guarantee you the game's going to tank. And after the bullshit they pulled a fucking half a decade ago, losing any will with the community that's good is the fucking wrong move, Chief. It's the wrong move.
Wow.
Ready to make a change from traditional tobacco? Take Zim.
Oh, pain in the ass. Your ad blocker will be a fucking whole thing in a different video, I'm sure.
That's huge. Permanent ban, everything wiped clean off of community creations. If you're not familiar with What's the Status creations, I know that you know that they have some cool stuff, but they're actually, what they've been doing is they've been putting in hidden stuff that's locked or just not in the game, but it's in the game, if you know what I'm saying. So it's actually in the files, and they're somehow getting that into the game, and then you can actually download it from community creations, and you can play as that in the game, which I think is very, very cool. One thing that they had, which I thought was very sweet, was they had the Adam Cole Bebe taunt.
Stop gloating and put your attention back to the match. He's taking a moment to feel the crowd, but he better focus on the opposition.
Which was in the game before, but they hit it, and now it's in the game, and you could play as it, which I thought was very, very cool that they got that in the game. There's also multiple versions of Superstars that they have. Stuff from the My Faction stuff that you shouldn't be able to get. They put in community creation somehow. You could download them. All that stuff was awesome. There's tattoos, there's logos, there's all kinds of crazy stuff that they've been doing. And there's a lot of all of that got them in trouble, which the community is kind of a little bit split. I wouldn't say they're split, but I want to talk about what some people are actually saying about the inappropriate content. And I'll give my thoughts and tell you exactly what I would go with here, if this was good, bad, or ugly. But let's dive into this. So this is a pretty good comment from Bar. They said, I wish they would stop worrying about you and the mods you put out and start going after people that abuse the hashtag system to put out BS that clogs community creations and makes it harder to search. I appreciate all the work you did, especially on all the faces of Kane. So what they're saying is that they don't care about the mods. Yeah, they think the mods are cool, but they should think that they should go after other people who are tag spamming their creations.
They shouldn't go after those people, and I'll tell you exactly why. You're going against the wrong people. That's a 2K problem. That's a 2K problem, so I'm not even going to entertain this. Sorry, but just not going to entertain that because it's a fucking mute point that makes no sense. So, yeah, fuck that.
HPS Goat says inappropriate content could be the fact that you're uploading hidden assets to the public, which could be conflicting with 2K's established marketing and DLC roadmap for the title. Been there, dealt with that. It's WWE and 2K's property. At the end of the day, you won't win. I actually have to agree with THPS and say, yeah, that is pretty true. By you uploading this hidden content, it affects the game and then all the marketing that they have behind it. If they're trying to make money on DLC and it's get uploaded to community creations, or if they're trying to make money on My Faction and then it gets ported out in community creations, that ruins the plan that they have to make their money on this game.
So put the My Faction contents in the other modes of the game, including match play. That's on you, 2K. That has nothing to do with the goddamn modders. Sorry.
Do I think that it's right that they're charging for some of the content? I don't know. I don't think so. But on the other end, can you take that content that's hidden and put it out there? Is that legally right for you to do that? That's where the gray line is. That's where the fine line comes here when it goes to modding. and it goes to this game because, like they said, WWE is a huge company, and 2K, you have to look at both of those properties. It's not just 2K, it's not just WWE, it's both of them. And they have to decide, okay, is this going to hurt the long-term plan we have for making money in this game? And if they're not making money in this game, then the game is not going to do as well, and then they're just going to have to figure out what they're going to do in the future, and maybe the game's not going to be as good. I'm not defending them saying that's true. I'm saying from a global landscape of what they're looking at, this is why he got banned, is because this hidden content that is going out is getting pushed to the public and it's becoming popular, and then they say, we don't like that because that's taking away from our marketing plan. They do have the Adam Cole sound. Maybe that could get him in trouble with AEW. Don't think it would, but I'm just saying, okay, so they have certain things in the game. I don't know what the copyright lies there, and if it's not employed in the company and they're putting out the content and then people are downloading it. But it is community creations where there's all kinds of crazy creations out there that aren't actually in the company, or maybe it's a Marvel, whatever. It's just fan-made content that, you know, there's that loophole in there in there that puts it out there. But honestly, I don't think it was the Adam Cole thing. I think it was more of the hidden content that, you know, was in the files and then it got released out, and then whatever, you know, maybe they were going to put some of that stuff out, or maybe they weren't, and then they just didn't know what to do. But
that's really the issue. They just wanted more money, and they wanted to be grubby in the short term and not think about it long term, where they could have got more money if they just let the mods stand. That's all that comes down to.
For them, banning somebody as prestigious as What's the Status, I will say they are very prestigious because they are one of the top people on the game. Honestly, I go back all the time just to check out the creations and go into community creations and say, okay, what's new from them? And I check them out and go, wow, this is awesome. And that gets me to play the game more. At the end of the day, yes, I understand what you're saying. Okay, some of the My Faction stuff or whatever it may be that you wanted to release for pay later, maybe it's My Faction, maybe it's DLC stuff that's getting leaked. I don't know how that all works, but let's say that there's some content that you don't want out there. Just bite the bullet on it, man. Just take the goodwill with the community and say, yeah, we understand. We get it. We know what's going on. Let's just do that. I think just let the mods lie. Let the hidden content go. You're not pushing it out to the public. It's community creations. It lies there. What's the Status is very talented. They have so much amazing stuff going on there. Just hire them. Just hire What's the Status to come work for your company now then, right? Maybe they don't want to. You get banned, you get whatever. Maybe they don't want to. I don't know. I don't talk to them. But I do think it's very interesting that they decided to not only delete everything they had, but permanently ban them from online play at all when they were one of the huge supporters of this game. And they spent probably the most time in the game than anybody ever was just creating stuff and modding the game. And
as a result, it made more people play the game, which made more people play your shitty fucking game modes, which means more money in your pocket any goddamn way. Which is part of the fucking problem that I have with this fucking approach that 2K decided to pull here.
Finding the hidden stuff and putting that out there and making it happen. You know what? At the end of the day, what they're probably going to do is say, hey, can we hire you and you could figure out, show us what you're doing, and then we could block all that? Because that's honestly what they're probably going to do. They're probably going to go, hey, come work for us, and then we'll block everything that you're doing. And we'll block it from anybody from doing it because we don't want that stuff out there. And that's probably what they're going to do. And that's what I would do, right? You instead of like, keep your enemies close. That's what they say. Keep your enemies closer. That's what they're going to do. Say, we understand what you're doing. Just come on out. Come work for us. We'll pay you a bunch of money, and you can find out how this stuff works, and we can block it all. And then we can do My Faction, and we can make all of our money back. And we love this. Yes, Scrooge McDuck, we're going to dive in a pile of coins, and we'll all be happy, and we'll have a lot of money.
Yeah, that's the fucking main problem. I wouldn't even make a game like that. That's the thing. I would want the fucking community to fucking make these cool-ass creations, because that means more for us. You know what I mean? Like, more longevity, more long-term play. And people would give a shit. People would keep buying the game, and we would enjoy playing it. You know, but God forbid.
I don't know. Honestly, it's very interesting. There's two sides of a coin here. You know, the hidden content that isn't supposed to be in the game is getting out there, which I completely understand. They have the right to ban people for that. But do I like it? I do not. So anyway, I want to know your thoughts in the comment section below because I haven't done a video like this in a minute.
And yeah, I mean, with that being said, I don't really know what else I can add to that. It's just a shame because you're really just you're fucking over your community. You really are, and it's not cool. It's really not cool. I don't like it. I hope people, you know, if people, here's the thing, right? A lot of these people that own these companies, I think the lesson here, however many people are going to watch this, is when you own a company, and I'm talking any company, or if you happen to be in government, don't do what these fucking people have done. Be better than them. Try to do better by the people that you are representing. The community that you're representing. Please do better. Because they have failed. You know, the goof troop over at AEW has failed. The government, when it comes to TikTok, has failed. And the WWE 2K heads have failed. Don't be like them. Okay? Just don't be like them. What's hilarious is that UFC is the fucking winner of today. that's the other fucking... This game's winner is Dana White. So good for him, I guess, with the UFC 300 and that awesome fucking knockout. But that's pretty much going to do it for this episode, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys enjoyed this edition of the JHebert Side of Things. Keep in mind, May 6th, the documentary finally comes out. I'll have the actual edit done by May 6th, but you never know. We might have to make some corrections or edit changes, whatever, right at the end. So who knows? But I know I will have it done by May 6th. So be on the lookout for it. Also, make sure you check out the last episode of the JHebert Side of Things. And check out everybody that I had on the iCards in the description down below. Make sure you give them a view. Make sure you give them a subscribe and a follow. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we will see you on the next JHebert Side. So with that being said, see you on the JHebert Side. Peace out, everyone. Bye-bye.